Hello. So, welcome to the Career Conversations show, where we bring different people to share their insights about career journeys. Today, I have on the show Varun Jain, who is coincidentally my batchmate from school, but more importantly, he is a CPA, US CMA, and alumnus of Harvard Business School, and he is the founder of Miles CPA Review. So, if you've been into CPA at any point of time or have inquired about CPA, you would have certainly come across Miles CPA Review. The reason why I requested him to come on the show today at such a short notice is the announcement by the CPA authorities that in June and September, they are going to conduct the CPA exams in India in 8 cities. And that's a big news because there'll be a lot of people for whom CPA would have been an expensive thing, as let's say someone struggling with CA finals or CS cost accounting. But the cost of going to US or Dubai for the exams, there are 4 papers, and you might have as well have to travel twice or thrice in case you don't clear it in one go. Having these exams in India, right now it's a temporary thing because of COVID-19, but I'm sure this is going to be the norm for the future. So Varun, over to you. How do you think today's announcement is going to impact the CPA scene in India?
So I think this is great news. This was anyways in the making, it was in the coming, but now given the COVID-19 situation and challenges on international travel, the AICPA, NASBA and Prometric, they've decided to do it right away. So candidates in India now no longer need to travel to US or to Dubai to take the CPA exams. They can take the exams right here in India. Now, just to give you a little background here, the CPA exams, of course, they started off in the late 1800s. So it's been over 100+ year journey. But the AICPA and NASBA, they started international testing back in 2011. So that is when they started going international, and Middle East locations came in, Japan came in, Brazil followed, Europe followed, and it was just a matter of time that India was supposed to be on that roadmap for international testing. So the good thing is we already have thousands of Indian candidates who study with Miles in India, and now the good news for all of them is that the exams are right here. It not just saves cost, as you mentioned, Anurag, it also adds a lot of convenience, because the CPA exams are held online at Prometric test centers. So which means you can choose your own dates. And the rule is, for the 4 exams, the rule is from the date you clear your first exam, you have 18 months to clear the remaining 3. So that's a lot of flexibility in terms of when you want to give your exams and how do you want to schedule your exams. Now with exams in India, candidates can study for 1 exam at a time, give that exam, then study for the next. Let's say spend a quarter studying for the second exam, then give the second exam, and so on and so forth. So that sort of makes it very convenient. Majority of our candidates are working professionals, and this flexibility and this convenience is invaluable. So I think this is great news. All of us at Miles are super excited. All our candidates, our aspirants are very excited. We've been receiving a lot of inquiries today from a lot of potential CPA candidates who now want to get enrolled into the program, because this is just great news.
Okay, so one basic question for the uninitiated. So suppose if I were to decide today that I were to appear for CPA, can I take it in this window in June or in September? Because there are going to be a lot of registration formalities as well. We need to qualify to appear for this exam. So tell me about that.
So it does take some time because, and we'll talk about that, Anurag. I mean, you have to get transcripts from your university, send that to an evaluation agency in the US, who will convert your India marks into US semester arc credit terms. So there's an eligibility requirement for CPA, which says you need to have at least 120 credits to appear for the CPA exams. And then the state board, and there are 55 of them. So it sort of gets a little complicated there, and maybe we'll talk about it. The evaluation agency sends the report to the state board, and depending on your qualifications in India, you get the US equivalents. So that process does take some time. It takes like a couple of months. But for candidates who get started now, June is a possibility, because it can be done in about 4 to 6 weeks. Or let's say they could also look at September timeline. And though of course the announcement right now is only for these couple of months, which is June and September. the understanding that we have is this is going to be a permanent affair. Right? So,
that's fantastic.
like all international locations, India will also become a testing location with continuous testing. So though it's not yet official, we believe strongly that this is coming up, sometime towards the latter half of the year.
Oh, that's fantastic news. Now, one question which, so I would be playing devil's advocate here. So let's say because my background is chartered accountancy, went on to do an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. Now, when I talk to the general people, especially through the CA Job Portal Connect, so the general thing is that CA perceived difficulty is far more than that of CPA. The reason being that CA is held in 3 stages. So you've got like, 8 plus 7 plus 4, maybe around 20 odd papers. CPA is just 4 papers, accounting, auditing, regulations. So tell us about that, about the perceived difficulty. I mean, what's your stance on that?
Let's understand this, Anurag, right? The way both these qualifications are structured. So we do understand that CA is the highest public accounting qualification in India, right? So the moment you say anybody, to anyone in India that you're a chartered accountant, there's a lot of respect, whether you look at an employer or anybody in the community. Similarly, CPA is the public accounting qualification from the US. Now, because it's US, it's global credibility, including in India, given the prevalence of US and other multinational corporations. Now, the point here is, let's look at the way CA is structured, right? Now, CA is typically a program that you start after class 12th, right? So after class 12th, you start studying for CA, and then you have your foundation or CPT, and then your inter, and then your final. And I know it's about 16 odd exams, an entire marathon, all those levels that you have to clear before you become a chartered accountant. But let's look at it this way, that you can become a chartered accountant even without a university degree. Rather, the ICAI, or the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, tells you, okay, hey, you don't have to go to college or university. After class 12th, just focus on CA. And if you clear these 16 exams, you're going to become a chartered accountant. And once you're a CA, nobody's going to come and ask you whether you've done a university degree, because it doesn't matter. What the ICAI and what a lot of bodies across the world, what they've done is they've actually included the entire graduation curriculum as part of the professional qualification. So after class 12th, it's a matter of choice whether you go the university route, which is graduation, or you go the professional qualification route, which is like CA in India. You can become a chartered accountant or a CS or a CWA. Even if you look at UK qualifications, you can become an ACCA or a CIMA without a university degree. So that's how these qualifications are structured. Start after high school. Many exams tend to substitute university education. University education not required. Now, when we get to the US, things are different. Nearly all professional qualifications in the US mandate a university degree, and the professional qualification sits on top of a university degree. So in the US, to be a CPA, you have to be a graduate. Right? And we spoke about 120 credits, and we'll talk about it more maybe going on. But you have to be a graduate even before you're eligible to take the CPA exams. Now, let's talk about the kind of effort it goes in achieving a graduation today. So if you talk to kids today who are pursuing their college degrees, they have about 6 semesters. And let's assume they have about 5 exams per semester. So we are saying you need to clear 30 exams across 3 years to earn a graduation alone. So the way, we look at CPA is actually a graduation plus 4 exams. So in other words, I could say CPA is actually 34 exams, where 30 are as part of a university degree, 4 more for the professional qualification. So basically, unlike, let's say, CA or ACC or any other qualification, CPA or CMA or CFA, all these US qualifications, they complement a university degree. They sit on top of a university degree. Same thing, right? To be a US CMA or a CFA, again, you have to be a graduate. So it's graduation plus a few exams. So it's basically complementing your university degree. And
these 4 papers are difficult. These 4 papers are very difficult to clear.
So again, as I said, Anurag, so let's look at the industry requirement. Let's say this is the level of skills which are required, for by a company. This is the expectation by a company from a public accountant, from an auditor, or from a finance professional. This is the expectation, and university is preparing you until here, right? And there is a skill gap, and this is exactly where all the US professional qualifications come. This is exactly where CPA comes, right? So the agenda is, it's not crazy amount of content, because, even if you look at those pursuing CPA, 90% plus candidates are working professionals, right? So if you look at folks who pursue CA, they are actually full-time students, full-time focus on CA, and they put in a lot of effort there. 100% of the time is going on CA. But if you look at CPA, the way it's structured is it's structured for working professionals. It's structured to complement your university degree. So naturally, the way of testing, the modus operandi is very, very different. So let us say on the CPA exams, the way the testing is done, and let's say, if I give you an example, let's say there's a document review simulation where, let's say if I look at a paper like auditing, the question is, you're going to get a lot of audit working papers. It could start with an engagement letter, confirmations from clients, audit plan, management rep letter. You're given all those exhibits and questions are based on those. So the questioning pattern is application based. And if I would tell you, half the exam is MCQs, remaining half is simulations, the entire exam is computer graded. So out of 4 parts, 3 of them are fully graded by the computer. So there is no subjectivity or human intervention involved. Only one of the exams, business, is 85% computer graded and 15% written communication, which is human graded. So the point is the exam, the qualification is designed for working professionals. It is designed to be pursued along with a full-time job for their career progression. And the focus is on the skill gaps. So I would not say it's easy or it's a piece of cake. There is content, but it is not about memory here. It is about applying the concepts onto real life scenarios. Right? So let's say if you have a multiple choice question, the answer is there on the screen right in front of you. It's not about whether you remember stuff. It's about, do you have your concepts right to be able to identify the right answer? Now you're going to have questions where everything looks right or everything looks wrong. And again, the conceptual piece and the application piece now comes in, whether you're able to move from concepts to context. If I talk about the global pass rate for CPA, it's close to 50%. At Miles, our pass rate is in excess of 75%. So it's a pretty healthy pass rate if you compare to a lot of other qualifications. Now, not that because it's easy, but because the focus is on application of concepts, and working professionals are able to do a great job on there.
Yeah, and one advantage as the conversation ensued was the fact that if you read the newspapers, CAs are doing a lot of protest about the evaluation because there is human intervention, there is subjectivity. So there are students who feel belittled by the system that they deserve to clear. Here, since it's computer-based examination, so at least you don't have that window of an human error coming between you and your dreams. So I think that's a very, very valid point, that computer-based exam at least clears us of that kind of a controversy which we are currently facing in the CA profession. Okay, so coming to the opportunities, because it's where the ultimately job opportunities are. And I understand from our conversation that you also engage in placement of your students. So where are the typical opportunities? Are they only in offshore like a Deloitte Hyderabad, a GTT, Grant Thornton, or something like that? Or is it also in like a Indian company like a Dr. Reddy or a Microsoft? Do they also look at CPAs?
Okay, so let's divide this into 2 pieces, right? The placement piece. One, let's talk about the public accounting firms, where of course the big 4 are dominant, and the big 5 has GT, and big 6 also has BDO, right? So Deloitte, EY, KPMG, PwC. So all of these are big recruiters for CPAs. And when I talk about their recruitment, of course, the offshore teams, there they only need CPAs, right? And they recruit hundreds of CPAs onto their audit teams, onto their tax teams, and financial advisory and other teams. Now, besides that, even Big 4 front end, Big 4 India teams, there are a lot of roles where they actually need CPAs. Just to give you an example, let's say, let's talk about a company like Tata Motors. Now, Tata Motors is a very much Indian company. Now, but however, Tata Motors has also gone to the US, raised ADRs from there, which means it's also a US SEC register.
Yes.
Right. So it's because they've raised capital in India, they're accountable to SEBI. Because Tata Motors has raised capital in the US, it's accountable to the SEC. So Tata Motors financials are, of course, are disclosed, are filed with SEBI in India. They're also filed with the SEC in the US. Now, the auditor for Tata Motors. So Tata Motors, of course, now needs CPAs because of the SEC filing that kicks in. Now, let's talk about the auditors of Tata Motors. So earlier it was Deloitte, now it's KPMG. Now, earlier Deloitte and now KPMG. Of course, the India partner, who's a chartered accountant, is the signing authority on the audit which happens for Tata Motors India for SEBI filing purposes. But the moment you're looking at SEC filing, the US team or somebody else, a CPA partner comes in. And that is where, even the big four India teams, when they are looking at multinationals, so there could be two kinds of multinationals, right? So you could look at Indian multinationals like Tata Motors, you said Dr. Reddy's or ICICI, HDFC, Infosys, Wipro, all these very much Indian companies are also US SEC registrants. That means they have filings with the SEC as well. So Indian multinationals need CPAs. The auditors of these Indian multinationals need CPAs. And then if you look at, a lot of, nearly every US multinational or foreign multinational has a huge base in India. Talk about Amazon, talk about Microsoft, talk about State Street, talk about Wells Fargo, talk about American Express, talk about AIG, talk about Siemens, a German company, talk about Philips, a Dutch company, talk about Barclays, a UK bank. So you have all these foreign companies having huge operations in India. Now, let's say if we look at even from an entity perspective, right, the Indian subsidiary needs to follow Indian compliances, Indian rules, Indian accounting. Let's say they need to do Ind AS financial reporting. So let's say Amazon has a subsidiary in India which has to do Ind AS, or Walmart has a subsidiary in India, or Flipkart is also now owned by Walmart. So Ind AS for Indian operations, but then they have to convert those Ind AS financials into US GAAP because the parent is following US GAAP, right? So because the world is typically bilingual, right? US GAAP and IFRS. So again, the conversion of Ind AS to US GAAP. So that's where a CPA comes in. And when you look at compliances, of course, Indian regulations, the Indian subsidiary has to be compliant, but all US regulations also apply because it's ultimately a US subsidiary. So let's say the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Right? So all those regulations kick in. And what we've seen is when you have these subsidiaries in India wanting to recruit candidates for the finance and accounting team, whether it be the CFO level or a controller level or somebody on FP&A across the team, especially if it's senior people, absolutely there's a round happening with somebody sitting in the US. It could be the CFO sitting in the US or a senior finance director sitting in the US. And the moment you say you're a CPA, there's a huge difference, right? Because if you're a CA, that's a great qualification, and CAs have a lot of respect in India. But when you're looking at internationally, anybody, talking to an investor, talking to a client, talking to your a future boss, they see CA still as a CPA equivalent. But the moment you say you're a CPA, they connect with you much deeper. And the opportunities, sort of multiply. So we've got a lot of candidates who just done BCom and CPA and gotten a much better opportunity with a multinational compared to another CA. And of course, we also have a lot of candidates who are CAs, and after CA, they come and do CPA with us. Lots of them. So basically, the point is, the moment you have a CPA on your resume stands out, right?
And especially let's say if I'm a fresher, so what would be the kind of a salary which for example, I'm a CA intern, stuck in CA final, so I complete CPA, or I'm a BCom, I then complete my CPA. What is the kind of typical salaries that I could draw per annum?
Assuming you have zero experience, you're looking at a salary of anywhere between 6 to 8 lakhs with zero experience. And if you have experience, now numbers,
6 to 8 lakh is pretty decent. 6 to 8
I think that's exactly what a chartered accountant is also paid, right?
Yes, exactly. So because a chartered accountant also average salary will be around 8ish only. So of course, the CA salary is quite skewed. A CA fresher can draw anything between 3 lakhs to 30 lakhs. CPA, that variance is going to be relatively less. So it's like,
it again depends. So let's say in my case, when I completed my CPA, I was working with Deloitte before I did my CPA. I worked with them for a year, did my CPA. Immediately after doing my CPA, I got a job with Morgan Stanley. Now, the hike that I got was multi-fold, and this was many years back, but still, so again, it depends on how do you position yourself, what are you able to bring to the table. And we've also had CPA candidates, there was a candidate who got placed for 16 lakhs. So, 1 year of experience. So, the point is people do get placed for very high numbers as well. But the point is the opportunities, right, with multinationals. And sometimes multinationals, when they find a CPA, they want that CPA at any cost, right? And they don't find as many CPAs in India as they find CAs, right? CAs are, the number of CAs is way more than you have CAs.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 lakh, CAs versus, a couple of thousand or a few thousand CPAs. So if you compare that, the CPA resume stands out, especially for multinationals, right? For Indian companies, of course, the preference could be CA, but even in Indian companies, we've seen, all these Indian multinationals, they want to have CPAs. They sponsor their candidates for, CPA. I'll give you an example. A company, Tata Power. This company is 49% owned by the Delhi government. They sponsor their professionals for CPA.
Yes.
So again, the many case studies like this. We partnered with about 56 companies where Miles Education is the learning and development partner for upskilling their employees, their professionals to be a CPA. And then we work with over 120 companies who hire our CPAs. A lot of those arrangements are formal arrangements. There are places where we have our alumni there at director positions, VP positions. So I think, what we have today is the demand for CPA far exceeds the supply for CPA. And what I'm saying is, it's not that companies hold those positions vacant. If they're not able to find CPAs, they will hire CAs and fill the position. So, but the preference, and if you hire a CA, so let's say, and I'll talk about that, when companies hire CAs, it doesn't take them very long to train the CA, right? About a 2-week training, the CA is trained on SOX, US GAAP, and all of that. So it's not a big deal to hire a chartered accountant and train him.
That's right.
But still, if you look at it, the chartered accountant who's trained on the US GAAP stuff or SOX stuff has the knowledge, but still not a credibility of a US CPA. So Anurag, you're a CA, but there could be other BCom graduates who could do as good in accounting as you do. But a company will still want to hire you because you not only have the skills, you also have the degree. Same thing in case of a CPA. The skills, of course, can be earned by a CA even without getting the qualification. But the degree now, the credential now matters a lot.
Thappa, as you call it, the chap, the thappa.
See, I would say, I don't call it thappa, but I call it a few letters after your name. These qualifications, whether it's a CA or a CPA, they make your name longer. They make you more credible. So CA also is the thappa, the chap, or the few letters, which makes you very credible in India. From an India standpoint, CA is perfect. No questions there. But from a global standpoint, that is where CPA comes in. And India, if you look at the finance and accounting space in India, today India is the finance and accounting hub for the world. So not just, so we spoke about the big four who hires, we spoke about companies who hire CPAs. How about the F&A companies? How about Accenture, Genpact, Capgemini, IBM? Now, let's say Accenture has hundreds of thousands of people in the finance and accounting space, and they have teams and floors across the country where they service clients. Let's say Accenture has a client called Johnson & Johnson. Now, Johnson & Johnson, of course, has their own finance and accounting team, but a big part of finance and accounting from Johnson & Johnson is outsourced to Accenture. So Accenture is doing J&J work in India and for J&J in various parts of the world. So let's say J&J Malaysia, or a South Korea, or a Japan, or a Sri Lanka, or a Middle East, Gulf, Latin America, US, Europe. So all that work is happening in that Accenture office, where you have people supporting various regions of Johnson & Johnson. Now,
So I'm quite excited, because you've talked about the host of Indian companies listed on the US stock markets who need a CPA, as well as an Accenture who does accounting for a Johnson & Johnson, having a captive F&A set up in India, auditors of these US SEC companies. And so there are a host of opportunities that are there for CPAs now. Coming to the eligibility part, because there is this credit system which really baffles a lot of individuals, because what I understand, 10 plus 2 plus 3, that is the traditional Indian education system, is not good enough for CPA. You need to have some sort of an MCom. So how does one circumvent around that? Does it vary from state to state, etc.?
Okay, so, and you spoke about state to state, Anurag. So I'll just give you a little bit of a brief about how the CPA exams are structured, right? Now, let's say when we talk about eligibility for, for the qualification or exams or certificate or license, right? If I talk about CA in India, now all of these are done by ICAI. So ICAI, the institute, will decide your eligibility, class 12 pass, will conduct the exams, will give you the certificate after you complete all the exams and the other requirements. Now, in case of CPA, it doesn't happen like that. And the reason for this is CPA is a professional license in the US. And sort of this dates back to when US got their independence, right? The way they structured, the country is, they're going to be a bunch of states united as one country. That's why United States of America. And the states will have a lot of autonomy. So states in the US do their own laws. States do their own taxes. States also do their own professional licensing. So in the US, you want to be a doctor, a medical practitioner, you will not get a federal license, it'll only be a state license. You want to be an attorney, it'll only be a state license. So in this case, you're trying to get a license, a certified public accountant license. Again, it has to be by one of the states. So US, of course, they started off with 13 states. Today, there are 50 states and 5 more territories. So that makes it 55 state boards of accountancy, which award the same CPA license. And these 55 state boards also have their own eligibility rules. However, the good thing is the CPA exams, which were of course earlier conducted by the various states, is now uniform. That means the CPA exams for all the 55 state boards is conducted by the AICPA, which is the national body, American Institute of CPAs. So they conduct the exams. So it's called, if you ever search about CPA exams, even online, you'd come across this term called uniform CPA exams, which means that your CPA exams are uniform irrespective of your state board selection. So let's say, if somebody is going through the state board of Washington, of course, he can go to Seattle and take the exams. He can take the exams in New York or Chicago or in Dubai. And now in India, because the exams are not conducted by the Washington State Board, they are conducted by the AICPA. Now, to answer your question, of course, these 55 state boards have their own eligibility rules, but there is some level of consistency, but the specifics are different. And that's where the Miles, we have a team in Miles Education called the Game Plan team, which comes in and looks at each candidate's mark sheets, the degrees that they have. It could be various combinations. Let's say we have somebody who's only a BCom grad, and you said 10 plus 2 plus 3. Now, BCom grad is a 3-year, graduation in India. That is typically not equal to the 4-year US bachelor's. However, if the BCom has been done from a NAC A university, let's say Mumbai University or Calcutta or Osmania or Bangalore, and the candidate has scored a first division in BCom or BBA, whatever the graduation is, the 3-year India degree will be considered equivalent to a 4 years US bachelor's. So again, there are exceptions. Folks who have done BCom plus CA Inter, they would also get credits for the CA Inter. Folks who are BCom MBA, of course, they are fully sorted, or BCom MCom is fully sorted. So there are a lot of combinations here which works across various states. And as I said, the Miles team specializes on that. On online research, people do get to numbers like 120 credits and 150 credits. So the way this works is, to be eligible to take the CPA exam, you need to have 120 credits. To be eligible for the CPA license, you need 150 credits. So that's a lot of detail. But the fact is, a lot of Indian graduates, BCom alone, are also eligible for the CPA exams. And of course, if you're a BCom plus MCom or a BCom plus CA, you're fully sorted.
And maybe you also, I reckon, also facilitate a MCom from an Annamalai University or a Amity University also.
So we have a program called the PG Diploma in Public Accounting. This is from Amity University. We've sort of powered the program in terms of giving them all the content. A very unique facet of this PG Diploma in Public Accounting is it's got the same syllabus as the CPA exams. Right? So it's not fully the CPA exams, so we've just covered like about 50 to 60% there, but the same syllabus. So somebody who comes in and needs an extra year can enroll with Miles, start with CPA, start with the CPA studies, parallelly enroll with Amity, and whatever the studying for the CPA exams is tested on the Amity exams. So they study it once and they give the CPA exams to get the CPA degree and the Amity exams to get the PG diploma. It sort of takes care of their bridge course requirement, sometimes for exam eligibility, sometimes for license eligibility.
So what about this license thing? I mean, if I'm working in India, do I really need that CPA license? Because they would be costing a lot of money, right?
No. First thing, it doesn't cost a lot of money. And second thing is, yes, you need to have a license. You cannot say that you're a CPA. You cannot use the letter CPA after your name on your visiting card, on your email signature, or even on your resume, unless you have a CPA license. Now, it's okay if you have a CPA license from any one of the 55 state boards, but you need at least one license. So let's say in my case, I hold a CPA license from the state of Colorado, but I need that license. Now for license, there are few requirements. Of course, you will clear the 4 exams. You need to have 150 credits, education credits, let's say a BCom plus a PG diploma and stuff like that. You also have an experience criteria. Now that experience criteria is again where Miles comes in of assistance, right? Because a lot of state boards have this rule that you need to have experience under the supervision of a licensed CPA to get the CPA license. Now that's difficult, right? Let's say in India or any international location, for you to have a CPA boss, you may have a boss who's a chartered accountant or maybe just a BCom grad. He may not be, most of the times he's not a CPA. That is where, what we do is we send in candidates to state boards which accept experience verified by a licensed CPA. And let's say I, as a licensed CPA, I do like hundreds of experience verifications every month for our candidates, where I sign on there. So let's say somebody's worked in Deloitte, or somebody's worked in a startup, or somebody's worked in Accenture. So I would sign on their experience letter. But when I sign, I don't sign as a supervisor. I sign as a CPA verifier. I put my license number and all those details, and that verified experience, that's fine for the state boards. So, so there's a little bit of a process. So like, let's say in CA, Anurag, you have the articleship requirement, right? And which is a rigorous sort of an internship articleship, 3 years under a CA. So here the requirement is not that it has to be like an article or an intern. It can absolutely be a full-time job with a full-time pay. So it need not be that articleship stipend. It can be a full-time pay, but you need that at least 1 year of experience, either under a CPA that's sorted or verified by a licensed CPA where Miles helps its candidates. So a little bit of formalities. Now, license, it's let's say I pay $76 every 2 years for my license. So if I convert to India rupees, I mean, it's like 5,000 rupees every 2 years for my CPA license. 2,500 per year is my license renewal cost.
That is pretty reasonable. I think in the CA Institute also we pay that kind of a membership fee. The final question, Varun, in terms of cost, so with the exams now being held in India, either now temporarily or as a permanent feature, how much does the cost boil down to? And I reckon that coaching is an important integrant here in terms of you really can't do self-study in CPA. That's one question. And do you get loan? So for example, if I'm from a not so good economic background, can I get that 3-4 lakh rupees which is required in CPA? Can I get a loan for that which I can repay once I start the job? Do I have to pay collateral for that, etc.? I mean, furnish collateral for that.
Okay, so let's go one by one. First is total cost. Total cost, of course, has now come down because of exams in India. So total cost for a candidate for a CPA would be about 3 lakhs, of which 1,99,000 plus some GST would be the Miles training fee portion, and about 2 lakhs would be the cost of exams plus the evaluation and all of that in the US. Now, why is the coaching or the training sort of helpful? Now, let's understand the components of training, right? One component is, of course, the training and the CPA study materials, the online test bank, online videos, and all of that. So one is that component, which itself is integral. Reason being, let's say, when you look at CPA candidates, most of them are working professionals, or most of them have cleared CA, or on a full-time job, or about to get onto a full-time job. And here they also have to balance, the full-time job with the CPA. Coaching sort of makes it very, not just effective, also makes it very efficient, which makes sure that, so let's say when we have those working professionals, we tell them we only need 20 hours per week. And if you give us 20 hours per week, you can be a CPA in the next 8 months. Right? So if you look at 20 hours per week, that's 80 hours a month, and about 600 to 700 hours for you to be a CPA. For some candidates, it could be up to 1,000 hours. That means a year long timeline. So the training makes it effective and efficient. Now, the CPA exam is not about memory. When you look at a lot of Indian exams, even our graduation degrees, there's a lot about how much do you remember here. And let's say in a theory paper, let's say an audit, you'd be expected to fill in 3 pages of content. Now here, it's not about, how much you remember. It's about application of those concepts to real life scenarios, application of concept to context. And that is where training really comes in. Let's say I'll give you an example. A lot of CA candidates that I've been in touch with, a lot of them have told me we don't go for coaching for audit in CA. I have had chartered accountants fail in audit on my CPA exam, my students, and I've also had BCom grad score 99. So you understand, right? If you have a complacency that you know it all, that is where some candidates get held back. So I'm not saying all chartered accountants fail. I mean, most of them pass. But the point is, you need some intervention so that they are able to sort of move into a mindset, which is an objective exam, which tests you really hard. So you'll have questions, let's say a multiple choice question, where all the 4 options look right, or all the 4 look wrong. And you really have to get to the bottom of it to be able to identify the right answer. So number one is that piece of coaching and the entire study materials. So I have personally recorded about 130 hours of CPA exam videos, and those about 10 to 15 hours are available on YouTube, on our website. So you can sort of your viewers could also go and look at those videos, and they'll understand the way we deliver CPA, high impact, high quality, focused, make sure they're exam ready. Now, the component for miles that we have, which is about 1,99,000 rupees, is not just for the exam and for the training and the study materials. It's also for all the assistants. So assistants start with question number 1: am I eligible for the CPA exams? Okay. If the answer is yes, which state board? Once we identify the state board, the next question is which evaluation agency? What is the process for me to get my transcripts and then send those transcripts to the evaluation agency? And then it goes to the state board. Then of course the CPA exams happen. Now you're not traveling to US or Dubai, you're giving exams in India. After you clear the CPA exams, how do you get the CPA license? Right? How do you get the placements? Now, of course, there are jobs available online and all of that, but with the kind of connects that we have, the job opportunities are multifold for our alumni, right? So it's an entire ecosystem that we've created. So let's say if somebody comes to us just for the assistance part and doesn't need coaching, we charge 70,000 rupees for that, right? Because that assistance itself is very, very valuable. So it's an entire package where the entire assistance piece is there, the study materials and training piece is there, and the placement piece is also there. So people who have cleared CPA with us, we've gotten them sitting on 3, 4, 5 interviews, and a lot of candidates were working professionals. They've looked at a career progression and stuff like that. So of course, for corporate sponsored candidates, we don't do placements, but for self-sponsored candidates, which is a big number, which is a majority, we absolutely support them for placements. And as Miles, we are also a lifelong learning partner to our candidates. So I'll give you an example. We've partnered with IIM Lucknow and Wiley to create a program which is analytics for finance and accounting professionals. Now, that's the only data analytics program by a top institution in India for finance professionals. So there are a lot of business and data analytics programs by all the IIMs and other institutions, but those programs have data analytics where you have 90% of the class is engineers, who already know coding, and then the class starts with Python and nobody's able to follow. This is a batch meant for finance guys with case studies from finance, where the audience is finance, and the focus is how does analytics help you upskill in finance and accounting. So
yeah,
what I'm trying to tell you
is understand more about analytics in other thing, because I think that requires really a lot of things. So as we were conversing about why the typical finance professional does not have the skills to present data, or is that use a software for chart making, etc. So maybe a separate very long session from you is required, which we'll do in a couple
absolutely that's something which is very close to me, and I think that's the future, right? Because a lot of accountants and finance guys today are doing transactional level work. That work either is already automated or will be automated.
Yeah, so it really requires us to understand that in depth. So 3 lakhs now, as of now, which includes like 2 lakh rupees of the proper coaching and mentoring part, and 1 lakh which is paid as an exam fee and the registration fee.
No, it's the reverse. So it's 1 lakh as the coaching part and 2 lakh as the exam fees.
Okay, so you charge like 1 lakh rupees at Miles.
Yeah. And the remaining 2 lakh is paid to the state board or
so now
the
in 3 lakh rupees, you can get a CPA. I mean, in terms of if you clear it in first shot and all, and you get loans for this.
Yes, the answer is yes. So we already have a tie-up with banks as well as NBFCs, quick disbursement of loans. So it's basically, if the candidate is working, no collaterals, nothing, based on the salary slips. Or if somebody's father is working, so we use, those details. So it's very, very quick, very quick.
Fantastic. Wow, Varun. I mean, this is like a goldmine of information that you've given to us in this session. So, folks, today is indeed a great day, because the CPA exams are now going to be held in India, and it's really amazing in terms of what we can do now. So thank you, Varun, for bringing all this information through this session, and we look forward to with you on that session on data analytics if you're able to spare some time in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure, Anurag. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure.